What is going on, Steno Squad? Welcome to the Lady Steno podcast, where I chat with the brightest real-time providers in the field of stenography. And if you are ready to increase your real-time speed and translation rate, head over to www.stenospeedclinic.com for an exciting opportunity. Now let's chat with today's featured guest, Ronda Thomas. Ronda, are you ready to go on the record?
Absolutely.
Ronda Thomas is a freelance real-time court reporter of 28 years working in Baltimore, Maryland. Ronda volunteers at the Maryland Bar Association seminar yearly for instructing attorneys on how to improve their deposition techniques. Now, Ronda, tell us a little bit about yourself. Fill in some gaps from that intro.
I am a mother of two teenage boys, and I live in Baltimore, Maryland. I've been reporting for 28 years, and I love the outdoors. I love the beach. We do hiking. I enjoy a little bit of reading other than transcripts. Right now, my favorite show I'm trying to catch up is Breaking Bad. I know I'm really behind the times. I think everyone has seen that series, and I'm finally on the last episode, so I'm really excited about that. I've been binge watching because it's pretty cold here in Baltimore. And pretty much raising teenagers is my second full-time job.
I'm sure they're a handful. And in the introduction, I had mentioned that you do something that all of us court reporters would appreciate. You instruct attorneys on their deposition techniques. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Well, someone that I worked for asked me if I would write real time at the seminar and volunteer to give feedback to attorneys about their deposition taking techniques. And it's like the best opportunity. You would be surprised. They don't teach them in school how to take a deposition, like marking an exhibit. They'll hand the exhibit to the court reporter and keep talking and ask you to mark it and then look at you like, why haven't you marked this yet? I know everyone goes through this. So I love that opportunity to stop them and say, wait, take a breath, let me have time to mark it, and then we can move forward. We all go through this. And I guess after the many years of experience, I can tell when someone's taken their first deposition or their 50th deposition. So I really find that to be so helpful. And I feel good at the end of the day that I can have some impact to help the younger attorneys take a good deposition because they can learn from us. I mean, we sit in them all day long.
Right. Anytime we're in a depot, there's nobody who's been in more depots than the court reporter.
Exactly. And they will ask your opinion at the end of the day.
And so when you're doing the seminar, is it a mock deposition?
It is a mock deposition. It isn't just me there. There are other reporters there, and we break up into rooms and we're with an expert. They're volunteers also. A real expert is in there. And the attorneys have about 20 minutes and they take an expert deposition. And I even tell him sometimes what he forgot to ask. Or, I say, I would have liked to have known this about your witness. So it isn't just instructing them on the formalities of a deposition. Like I said, school does not teach attorneys how to take depositions, which is pretty odd considering that's a big part of their job.
And then what kind of expert is in the mock deposition?
Oh, real doctors, real medical doctors, engineers, the typical, what you would see in a deposition. Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. And so let's talk about your education in your field. How did you get into court reporting school and what school did you go to? And just tell us about your educational background.
Okay, so I had graduated from high school and I started at a community college. I really didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. I was 18, just wanted to have fun. And my mom's friend worked for a court reporter. She was a scopist. And I thought, wow, that's different. So I went and talked to her and I just started looking into the school. And I ended up starting at Strayer College in DC. That's where I learned my theory. That was the Digitex theory. It was based out of California. And it was supposed to be, and I'm sure it was, geared towards real-time writing. And this was back in 1988. I didn't know what real time was back then. I just knew I was going to learn this theory and get this machine and start. And so I did. And I eventually moved to a different school called Villa Julie College, which is in Stevenson, Maryland. And that's where I graduated in 1990. And it took me about, I would say, 2.5 years to get through school. And when I started working, I was at 200 words a minute. I hadn't even passed my 225s, but that's what we did then. We went out at 200.
Why? Why did you guys go out at 200 versus 225?
I don't know that I can answer that. I know that my then boss that I worked for, he went on every job with you until he felt you were ready. I don't think they do that anymore nowadays. Like I said, I've been doing this quite a while. So he went on the job with you and he kind of sat in the corner and he wrote it at the same time. This was back in the day when I had a tape recorder running. Did I get it all? Probably not. I probably didn't, now that I think about it. I mean, come on. I'm at 200 barely. But
Right.
I started writing every day. I started taking jobs in the morning. I was doubled up. We went into the office. I was doubled up every day and I was writing. So if you think about it, I think I got my 225 really quick because I was writing 2 to 4 hours a day. That adds up to quite a bit at the end of the month. And so then you're getting all that practice and you're getting more confident.
And then what about the transcript? Who would work on that transcript?
Back then, we dictated because we still had paper. So you learned real quick how to dictate fast. If you can imagine, I would write maybe 100 pages a day. At the end of the week, I had all these pages and I would have to dictate. And then a typist would listen to my dictation and type it. And then boss would reread it to proof me.
Wow. Okay. So it's more than an internship because you're the one who actually will sign the transcript at the end.
Yes. And I got the paycheck too. I don't think many firm owners have the time nowadays to do that for people. It was a different time then, definitely.
But it sounds like it would be a good idea for students who are at 200 to try to intern as if they were a full-time court reporter.
And we used to do that. I remember when I was a full-time court reporter, I would have students come in with me. We would get permission, from a client that we knew, nothing heavy, just a accident case, something light. And you're right. I do remember this. We used to have students coming in who were near the end, around 200 that were just trying to get to that end point to graduate. And you get a lot of practice that way and experience. And there's always something to learn.
Right. I mean, I know when a student graduates at 225, if they only have 40 hours of internship, which I think is what most schools are giving, that is really not enough so that you're not nervous. Of course, you don't know everything. I mean, I still learn things in depositions that I'm taking in 2019, but it would help a lot students if they could intern for even 5, 6, 7 months just to be the best court reporter when they're finally out on their own.
Exactly. And that's part of their practice time. If they could get together with, I wouldn't mind taking people on my jobs now. There are some that they probably wouldn't want to go on all day long. But like I said, the shorter jobs, the 3-hour jobs, it's great practice. It's terrific experience. And you would be surprised how many firms are open to letting you do that. That would definitely be something to look into.
Right. And there's no shortage of depositions going on.
No, we're all probably overworked in a good way.
Absolutely. Yes, in a good way. So you did finish school, but you don't have to be certified to work in Maryland, but you are certified now. What made you decide to get certified? Tell us a little bit about that.
I decided to get certified because first I had to do it for myself. I had to prove to myself that I could do it. And I just felt more confident when I had the certification. And it took me more than one time. I didn't do it on the first try. I don't remember how many times I tried back then. I keep saying back then because I think things are different now. I think you had to pass everything at once. So literary was not my favorite leg to pass. I'm sure it's no one's. And I had a problem with my literary. So I believe I probably took that test 3 times before I passed. You had to pass all 3 at once.
And this is your RPR?
This is my RPR.
Okay.
Yeah. So I had my RPR for quite a while, for many years. And then recently, I've been doing real time for probably 10 years before I went to get my real time certification. Just, I think having a family got in the way. Just one of the things I didn't even care about doing. But recently, in the last maybe 4 or 5 years, I thought, I need to get this real time certification. This is silly. I just need to do it. So I went and I passed it. And it just makes me feel better, to be honest with you. that I can say I am certified, that my clients feel confident that they have a reporter that is certified. And also, of course, you get better jobs when you're certified. It's kind of a no-brainer.
And this real-time certification, is this the CRC?
This is the CRR.
Okay. So this was before the NCRA changed their format.
I guess I should know, but I'm not sure I know the other certification.
They have a new certification. It's called the CRC, and there is a mandatory workshop that you have to take in order to then take the skills test, the real-time skills test. It's still at 200, but it's 200 Q&A. And then now there is also a captioning certification, which is 180 lit real time. So there's new certifications now.
Well, I guess I'll have to look into those.
Okay. So one thing that you mentioned was having to pass all parts of the skills test at once. And I know some states have that. I think Texas is being one of them. Do you think that should be the standard, or how do you feel about that?
Wow, that's a good question. Well, I don't know that it needs to be the standard, because if I'm just taking depositions all day long, I'm taking Q&A all day long, I really don't need to pass a literary to work and to be a good reporter. Literary is a beast of its own. I find jury charge very easy. I think jury charge to me is kind of similar to Q&A. You can have tons of briefs that will help you get through that. Literary can be pretty tough. And I don't think there are many reporters who will say, I just love sitting down and writing literary all day long. So I think I would like to see maybe the jury charge and the Q&A, and then literary could be an option. I don't know.
Okay.
We'll make that optional.
Right. What I find also interesting is that you were working at 200 words per minute. And, with the shortage of court reporters that we're facing now, do you think that is something that we should consider as a community?
Yes, I think 200 words a minute, you can definitely be out there writing your accident cases and simple contract cases. Do you want to be on a heavy medical? No. You don't want to throw people to the wolves at the same time and scare them. But
right.
200 is, let's face it, if you're writing 200, you can have probably spurts of 225 in there that you can do. And then things would slow down a little bit. And you have a recording. But if you're doing it more every day, you're going to get to 225 much quicker, because you're out there practicing and you're actually making money at the same time.
Right. Money is the motivation a lot of times, unfortunately. And I also think that when you spend all that time scoping or spending all that money on Scopus, you're going to realize you want to improve your writing so that you're not spending hours every single night to scope a transcript.
Exactly.
So you mentioned about the jury charges and the Q&A are easier because of briefs and phrases. Do you consider yourself something like a brief queen or a phrase queen? When do you write things out?
I write things out when, of course, if it's a company name or something, I might write it out the first time or the second time, and then I'll global it and I will brief it after that. I am a briefer. I like to brief all my phrases, as many phrases as possible. Write shorter. The shorter you write, the faster you can go. You do not need to write everything out, but like I said, writing things out, you have to have some sort of ability to write something when you hear it, so that you can get it down. But I do believe that briefing and phrasing allows you to write faster. And it also saves on your body a little bit. The less I can write, the more I can preserve myself.
Right. No, it's true. It's you're expending less energy when you're writing shorter.
Exactly. And we have so many options to write shorter. There's just an infinite number. And it amazes me. I take as many seminars as I can about writing brief, writing phrases in one stroke. My favorite phrase right now is HOID, handing you what's been marked as. How many times do you hear that? I am so tired of writing that out. So I was like, I got to get a brief for this. I can't take it anymore.
And so can you tell us again, what was the outline?
It was, okay, when an attorney marks an exhibit, he'll say, I'm handing you what has been marked as. One stroke, HOID, HOID.
Perfect. I'm sure a bunch of the listeners are going to be adding that to their dictionary in the next minute.
Yes. Good.
Cool. So you brief on the fly?
I brief on the fly. There's a couple things I do. I think I wrote this down and about some things I wanted to say, but it was learning your software. You need to learn your software. Your software is your best out there on the job. It has so many tools. I'm on Eclipse. I don't know Case Catalyst. I'm pretty sure they have almost the exact same thing that we do, but we have something where we can pretty much brief on the fly. If I'm writing, like, for example, if I was writing that showing you what has been marked as, say an attorney said that, 50 times. After the first 3 or 4 times of me writing those same words, Eclipse will give you a brief and it'll say, you write this and we'll put showing you what has been marked as on your screen. So one stroke.
And what is that feature called?
Oh, please don't kill me. I should know this. I'm one of those people, I know what to do, but I don't know why I'm doing it. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. It does.
I should know it. I should really know it, but I don't. I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. I know Case Catalyst has what you're mentioning, and it's called Brief It. So whoever's listening, just so they know that you can definitely do that as well on Case Catalyst. Seems like you have a lot of experience, and now you're certified in everything. But was there ever a time that you felt that you weren't ever going to be able to become a real-time writer?
Oh, yes, there was. There was a time right before I probably started doing it. I thought, I don't know if I can do this. But the biggest motivator, I have to say, is money. And I had just had my first child. I was a full-time reporter before then for 10 years. I was a career person. I had a baby and I missed it. I missed working and I loved him dearly, but I thought, I've got to get out there. I've got to get out there like just a day or two. But I thought, how can I make more money? I don't want to leave him all day. I don't want to work full time again. And so then I said, I just got to do real time, because when you do real time, your jobs are better quality for the most part. I will say 50% of the time, if I do real time, I'm selling 1 or 2 rough drafts or more, and you're going to make more money. That's just the bottom line. So when I went back to work, I just said to the firm I was working with, I just want real time. Do you have some real time? And they were ecstatic, because this was in 2000. They were looking for real time writers. You couldn't find them. It was very hard in Baltimore to find someone to do it. So I started going to DC and taking real time jobs. And they were mostly patent litigation because, well, pharmaceutical companies, or they have lots of money. They have money to pay for that. So that's kind of where the work was at the time. And that's what I started doing. And I made just about as much money doing that 1 or 2 days a week as I did working full time before that, or more. I made more money.
That's incredible. It seems like you just said, hey, I want to do real time. And they said, okay. But did you take steps to become a real time writer?
Yeah, I did. At home, I kind of, in my head, when my son was born, after 6 months, I knew I wasn't just going to be a stay-at-home mom. I had to go out 1 or 2 days a week. So I started, getting the machine out, and I started writing and fixing things and working on things. And I didn't spend a lot of time doing it. I had always worked on my jobs. I took a computer from, I would say, maybe 1992 or so. I started taking a computer on the job with me. And when you take the computer every single day, when you're sitting there and you see something coming across your screen consistently, you fix it. And then you're becoming better and better every day that you're working. So that's what I did. I did work on it. And I just kind of jumped into it. Was I nervous? Yes. I was scared to death. I thought, every day I would go on a real-time job, I couldn't eat. I couldn't sleep the night before. I know you know this.
Yes, I've been there.
This is all normal. And the thing I learned after many years was half the time the attorneys don't look at the screen. They are not looking at your mistakes, and they don't care if something comes up transposed and nowadays you have your software, which will, if you write in Steno, the software guesses possibly what it is, even if it doesn't translate. 9 times out of 10, it puts the right word up. It was very nerve-wracking in the beginning.
The software these days makes it so much easier to have cleaner real time.
For sure.
It really is your best friend and on these jobs.
Can't emphasize enough to people to go to seminars. Even if you have a group of reporter friends who want to improve their writing, who doesn't want to improve your writing? Okay. So I know that Eclipse and Case Catalyst have trainers all around the country. You can hire a trainer to come in. If you get 6 reporters together, it's very doable. You don't have to fly out. Bring them into you. Have a small class somewhere. say, this is what we want to do. We want to learn how to write macros. We want to learn how to edit and get our workout quicker. How can my software help me?
Absolutely. It's worth the investment. There's some tricks in the software that can probably save every reporter an hour a week in their scoping time if they only knew that they could use that function.
I totally agree. And I'm still learning today.
Absolutely. Especially with all the software updates. Every year there's a new update, and all those updates are made to make you a more effective court reporter.
And the other place you can look is Facebook. I did want to mention, if anyone has searched all of the court reporting groups that are out there on Facebook, it is amazing. I have a brief group that I go into. That's one place I go if I'm on the job and I've got time to kill, they're running late. I go onto Facebook and I go onto the brief group. There's a group dedicated to just court reporting briefs. Believe it, it's a man who runs the group. And every day he puts something on there and everyone adds their briefs. Or if you have a question, hey, I'm writing this today. Does anyone have a brief for this? And then boom, you've got all these briefs. It's just amazing the knowledge that's out there for people to access to be a better writer. Years ago, I didn't have all this.
Facebook is so good for court reporters. There's just so many groups out there for us to learn from each other. It's really good.
Yes, everyone should be connecting, definitely, and helping each other out.
So it seems like you did a lot of jumping in, meaning you jumped into real time, you started working at 200 words per minute. So I'm sure it hasn't always been easy sailing. And I want you to share with our listeners what you would consider your worst moment while real timing.
There have been a few. But I think the one that is probably, and I say a few because of course things come across the screen and you cringe, like a profanity, and then you change the way you write that word really quick. But I think the worst one was when all of my iPads at one time were freezing all day long. And no one could figure out why. The IT people, the Eclipse software IT people couldn't figure out why. And then it just wasn't working out. We just eventually put them to the side and I had to just take a deep breath and say, it is going to be okay. This is not the end of my career. Eventually we figured out that the cache was filling up in the iPads. And I think I've got this right, but I'm not sure because I was on their server streaming. And I was supposed to be deleting the cache out of the iPads. I didn't know this. I don't think anyone knew this, obviously. I think I was just sweating bullets all day. You just want to just pack up and go home, but you can't.
Right.
What I did to fix that was, like I said, I went on Facebook, and this happened to me recently. I had this happen like a few years ago. I went on Facebook, and I started reading and asking questions. Has anyone had this happen? I had a horrific real-time job. My iPads were freezing. Right away, yes, your cache was filling up and you need to do this. So I bought Live Litigation. Everyone praises Live Litigation and said that their support was awesome. You won't have this problem. It's so much easier to connect. And that's what I use now is Live Litigation. And it is phenomenal. I have not had the problem since.
Yeah, it's like we mentioned, Facebook is just amazing for things like that. I mean, just by making one post, you're asking like 10,000 court reporters to say it's something that we were never able to do before. It's just really amazing about how helpful that these court reporters can really be in these Facebook groups. So definitely everybody should, even if you don't like social media, just make an account just for court reporting's sake. You don't have to post any pictures of yourself, but just be there. It's just such a wealth of knowledge and it's constantly updated because people are sharing their experiences and you have people from all over the world, court reporters from all over the world that are ready to learn or to teach. So I definitely recommend that.
Yes, I'm sure that most people feel this way. Court reporters, it's kind of a lonely job. You're out there by yourself on the job and you don't have really someone to bounce things off of or talk to. Or maybe you're worried that you're the only one who has the problem. But when you just get on these Facebook pages and you start reading, like my mouth drops open like, oh my gosh, it's not just me. It isn't me. I am a good reporter. These people are experiencing the same things I'm experiencing. These people taking depositions, they're just plain out crazy sometimes, right?
Right.
No,
right.
It's not you. It is not you. I'm a good reporter. It is the person taking the deposition that doesn't know what they're doing. So at the end of the day, I don't ever walk out going, oh my God, I'm a terrible reporter. Do I have bad days? Yes. But I always, at the end of the day, say, you did your job, you did the best you could, and you worked with what you had. And it's their record. That's the other thing. They're making their record. Don't feel like you have to make it for them.
That is true. Now, let's talk about making money. what was your most lucrative assignment as a real-time reporter, and what kind of case was it?
I'm going to tell you my very first assignment, my very first lucrative was a real-time trial for the IRS. I had 3 hookups. It was daily copy, and it was going out at around $23 a page. And this was years ago. That went on for about 3 weeks, and you can do the math. And then
I will.
Yeah.
Well, 3 weeks. Okay. How many pages a day?
Oh, you're in court, 250 to 300.
So let's just say 300. So
Okay.
300
Okay.
times 23, and then times 5, right? And then
Yeah.
times 3.
3.
Wait. That likes to look too much. I'm not sure if I'm doing. I'm getting. Wait. I'm getting 103,000. Is that?
No, that.
Okay.
Oh my goodness. Hold up.
I probably pressed the multiplication button too many times. 23 times 300. No, that's a lot, because $23 a page.
Yeah, it's a lot.
300 pages is $6,900 a day, right?
Right.
Okay. Then there's 5 days in a week, so times that by 5.
Right.
It's 34,500, and then you times that by 3.
Right.
That says $103,500.
I know.
All right, Steno Squad, I had to edit this podcast to say a few things. First of all, you have to invest in yourself. If you want to make big money or riches of any kind, you must invest in yourself. Now, if you want to invest in your skills as a stenographer, sign up for the Lady Steno Speed Clinic. I don't guarantee you'll make as much money as Ronda here, but you will definitely save time scoping. You'll write much faster while having less stress on your body. And that is truly priceless. Sign up today at stenospeedclinic.com.
Okay, Ronda, tell us more about this 6-figure assignment.
I had proofreaders to pay.
Of course, yes,
Yeah.
of course.
So they got 3, I think there was probably like 3 something a page. So you do have expenses. And I also had to go to Chicago because that's where they did some of the trials. So we traveled. Yeah.
You're saying we traveled. Who's we?
Well, the attorneys.
Okay.
I started in DC and they asked me to stick with it. So I did. I went with them to Chicago and they finished the trial there.
And was your housing covered when you were in Chicago?
I stayed at the best hotel ever. I stayed at the Sofitel. Oh my gosh. I felt like I was I was working my butt off. I didn't sleep much, but it was the best. They had the best food. I had food delivered to my room that was gourmet and it was just phenomenal. I probably couldn't afford to stay there if they weren't picking up the bill. I can't imagine what it was at night. It was probably really expensive.
Yeah, it sounds like it. But I'm sure you felt like a real-time rock star.
I did. And for the record, it was not the IRS paying my bill. It was the defendants.
I was wondering about that.
It was not the IRS. No.
But no, that's amazing. I mean, some people don't even make that in 2 years, or some people, for sure, some people don't even make that in 3 years. And you're able to, because of your skill set, and you were able to earn that much money. I mean, that's incredible. That's actually the most that I've heard doing this. In those 3 weeks, you were able to earn more than a lot of people even earn in 3 years or 2 years. And, me being a real-time reporter as well, I know that there are jobs where you will get $23 a page, but the difference is you may only have that job for 1 day or 2 days, but to have it for 3 weeks, that's what really made it so lucrative. It's pretty amazing. It seems like if you wanted to, you could only work 3, you didn't have to do any more jobs for the rest of that year.
That's my point, that if you do real time, the opportunities will open up. They're out there. I just helped a friend. And I will tell you, it was an 8-week daily trial. She is the super court reporter. I call her super court reporter because I don't think I could write a daily for 8 weeks. I just don't want to sit that long. And I just don't want to see the same, I hate to say this, I don't want to see the same people for 8 weeks either.
Right? That's why we're freelancers.
Exactly. But I helped her out one day. One day I helped her out. And I took a Wednesday so she could have a break. I only wrote 250 pages and I brought home $4,800.
I mean,
yeah.
It's just a lot.
So I don't know. So she's making a killing we worked our butt off, you can imagine.
Right. But I mean, there's other court reporters who will make $4,800 it'll take them 2 weeks to make that. And they're working just as hard, if not, and actually they're working harder. But because they haven't pushed their skill to that level, they're making a lot less.
Yes.
And
the goal is in this job, you want to make more, but work less.
Absolutely. So you've actually given us a lot of great advice, a lot of great stories, but what is the best court reporting advice you've ever received?
Okay, my best court reporting advice I've ever received was from that first boss that I talked about who took me on those jobs at 200. And his name, by the way, is Richmond Gore. He used to own Gore Brothers. He told me the first week I started working for him, he said, I want you to open a retirement account and I want you to get disability insurance. I was 21 years old and I could have cared less about retirement or disability. And I just said, okay. And then 6 months later, of course, I didn't do it. He asked me again, did you do that? No, I want you to do it. And he kept asking me. And I got so tired of him asking me that I finally just did it. I said, I'm going to go get this. So I am so thankful to him because in this business, we're self-employed. This job will be very good to you financially. I can tell you that as a mom, I can count on one hand the number of sporting events I missed for my kids. And both my boys play sports all year round because I could take off. I don't have to work that day. My kid has a game. I want to go see him. This job would be very good to you, but you have to take steps for your future because we don't have retirement. You have to create your own retirement account. And what happens if, God forbid, you break your arm or break your finger and you can't work for so many months? So you need a disability insurance policy. That's pretty much my best advice. And I just gave that advice to a reporter who just finished school and she's starting out. And I said, I'm going to tell you something that my first boss told me, and it was the best advice I've ever had.
What about advice that you give to all of our listeners? What advice would that be for any future real-timers, whether they're students or reporters who just haven't yet made that jump?
That's something that we've kind of touched on, and I'm just going to reiterate it. I'm going to say that if you're translating at 99%, you are more than ready. If you have a translation rate that is maybe 98, 97%, you're almost there. You're real close. And how do you get there? You get there because you learn that software. That software is your best friend. You could be a not so good a writer, but if you utilize all those tools in your software, they can make your transcript look beautiful. Like you are just magic. So that's what I would say. And in order to do that, you'll say, well, maybe I don't know how to do it. Well, call your software. Like I said, get together with some other reporters or go to a seminar. I attend a lot of seminars. I look online, I find them, and I learn my software and how I can use certain things. I don't use them all. I happen to write clean. I am a clean writer, but I'm not a fast writer. So I need things to help me. There are some people who can write incredibly fast and read their notes, but maybe it's not translating. The computer, your software will help all of that. And then the last thing I would say is take your computer on every single job and edit constantly. If they're looking at documents, go through your transcript as they're looking at documents, clean things up, put things in your dictionary, write things down that keep happening that you're watching on your screen. If you constantly are writing a common word and it's not coming up, just put it in as the bad stroke. Those are some things that I would work on. And then lastly, I'm a big believer in that Facebook. I learned so much from my colleagues out there that we don't have an opportunity to talk to when we're at work all day because we don't all go back to the same office and talk to each other. Nowadays, we have LinkedIn, we have Facebook. You can talk to other people in your field and find out, well, maybe they're experiencing the same thing I am.
Thank you so much for all of that advice and all of your stories and your experiences. And I know it's definitely helped me, and I know it's going to help the listeners. So thank you so much for being a guest on the Lady Steno podcast.
Well, thank you for having me. This has been fun. I appreciate it.